Okay, so it seems like the topic du jour is the timepiece gentleman and what the hell's going on. Given that it's the watch industry, the watch dealer, watch media, and that's kind of my space, it's only natural I'm going to have an opinion about it. Given that everyone else is expressing an opinion on Facebook or Instagram or whatever their options are, and I've got a YouTube channel, I figured I may as well do it here. If you're not interested, just move on right now. If you are, I'll see you on the other side of the intro. Hi, welcome back to Not So Obvious Watches. I'm Pete McConville. As I said in the intro, I talk about the watch industry and the buying and the selling a little bit. I talk about the watch media. And so when a watch dealer goes dark and vanishes, and that guy is a kind of social media darling, it's only natural I'm going to have some thoughts on it. At this point, I've got a feeling it's like those early moments when we first started hearing about the horology house issue. A lot of people coming in with really strong opinions, not a lot of information, and I'm in that same mode. So even then I was reluctant to have a super strong opinion, and sorry if it disappoints you, I'm kind of the same now. There aren't enough facts that I can be super strong on what I think is happening, but I've got a fairly good feeling and I figured I'd put it out. Given that this is an opinion and all opinions should start with some facts, let's start with what I think the facts are right now. The first fact is that the Timepiece Gentleman is a pretty new watch dealer. It's centered around two guys, Anthony and Marco, that don't seem to have a lot of experience in running a business, not a lot of experience in this business of buying and selling watches, and a few hangers-on, which again don't seem to be adding a lot to that business in terms of running an enterprise that makes money consistently and reliably. And that's going to be a theme moving on. From what we've seen, and we've seen a fair bit, I'm going to assume it's reasonably accurate. That business is run in a fairly chaotic fashion. We'd also see that it's run with a lot of unnecessary expenses, let's say. One might even say there's a fair bit of drama in what they do. 3, the Timepiece Gentleman is as much a media performer and a media show as they are a dealer. 4, whilst their actions as a dealer are pretty chaotic and we're not convinced they know exactly what they're doing, when it comes to being media performers, these guys are on point. They are exceptional. Their YouTube channel has exploded to the point where many of us were actually openly wondering, is this set up for them to go pro and get some kind of permanent cable streaming porn stars kind of gig going? 5, they've also got this weird mix of old and new, traditional watch dealer and social media darling and Kickstarter crowdsourcer function. An odd, very millennial style revenue process, which has caught a lot of us by surprise and had a lot of people questioning where they're going. 6, they have been talking about doing a big move, a big rebrand, a big replacement. It's not come as a surprise that they need a lot of capital at this point. They did go out and, again, specifically enter into this kind of crowdfunding membership model to raise $2 million to enable that big change. 7, I think we're up to. Their current or potentially former real estate retail premises seems to be shut down. We have no indication of a new one, and much, but importantly, again, not all of their social media seems to have just gone dark. These are the things we know. Those are 7 facts that I don't think you can really argue with. There's a bunch of other things that I think we know. They're words I've heard, they're ideas that I've heard discussed. And the first is that apparently they are paying their most important creditors. That is the people that have sold watches through them. I've heard a number of places that those people that sent watches in for consignment have been given the money that they were expecting to get for those watches. 2, I have heard that their recapitalization, their membership process was massively undersubscribed. They were hoping to raise about $2 million, and I have heard that they have got possibly about 15 to 20% of that. 3, I have heard that over the last little while, over the last couple of weeks or months, their communications, their client management, that has been a bit weird, and people have really struggled to get hold of them, really struggled to pin them down and get things like prices on watches as they want to buy and sell. So those are the things I've heard. So if you take all of that, stick it in a big box and blend it up, for me, the most obvious reason that they've gone dark at the moment and we're not hearing much about them is really simple. They screwed up the rebrand and the move. They don't have enough money. They haven't been able to capitalize it. Maybe they haven't got a new premises to move in. Maybe they haven't been able to pay and get all their messaging and corporate branding and all of that sorted. Everything we've seen about their management indicates that it's highly likely that's going to go off the rails. Everything we've seen about their media management indicates they know how important it is to look good, to nail that. Everything we've seen of like the key personalities, particularly Anthony, says that he really likes to project this super positive, nothing ever fails kind of approach. Combine those and the idea that they just screwed up the move, screwed up the marketing, screwed up the messaging, don't have a face they want to present right now, would say to me they'd rather go dark and run the risk of some credibility issues than present anything less than the perfect picture that they want. I reckon it's as simple as that. That's really simple. Number 2, far, far, far less likely but possible, is that those business screw-ups have actually got a bit worse and there's some sort of legal action in trade. I don't think that's likely for a couple of reasons. One, if it's a civil thing, we haven't heard anyone that would be like suing them and that would be making a big deal over it. There's no one out there in public. There might be the odd, web developer or real estate agent that didn't get their deposit in time. That's quite possible. But there doesn't seem to be any evidence that there's people that were expecting hundreds of thousands of dollars for watches not getting it. That just doesn't seem to be around. Likewise, if it was something criminal, then frankly, it wouldn't have moved this quickly. For what is almost certainly, if there was a crime at all, and I'm not saying that there is, if there was, then at best it's going to be the kind of white-collar fraud crime that takes years to investigate. They certainly wouldn't have moved this fast. Some sort of legal issue would probably support the idea of going dark, get rid of evidence and everything, except of course they kept the YouTube channel up, which has got some of the most incriminating evidence if we're even in a legal issue. So that does raise a question. Why would the YouTube channel be up? Because of all their social media outlets, it's the moneymaker. If, as I suspect, they were undersubscribed for their membership, if, as I suspect, they're a little bit undercapitalized for this rebrand and remodel that they want to do, the idea of shutting off one of their few revenue streams is nonsensical. Okay, so the last option is the scam option. That this whole thing, the horology house option, this whole thing is some sort of massive scam, and that he and his partner, or just maybe one of them, has skipped the country with millions of dollars of watches. I just can't see it. It just doesn't seem to add up. The behavior about why would you shut down your social media outlets which flag that something's gone wrong, when even if you did run, you would have bots just churning this over, keeping it look like you're alive, at least for a few more days. Maybe they did do that. Maybe we're actually in the end game right now. Those bots have run out and that's where we're at. But again, some of the videos that we've seen recently, etc., wouldn't indicate that they've been running for some weeks. If they had skipped, I do not believe they have, then it would be in the last 72 hours. And it makes no sense to like flag that you're doing that by shutting everything down. So that's it. I think the answer here is actually pretty mundane. I think they just screwed up their move and they would rather go dark than show the mucky muck halfway through. Wouldn't be at all surprised if when they come back, they actually say, oh, we experienced this difficulty and then turned it into a rags to riches, triumph over adversity story. But they just don't want to show in the middle of this that they're having problems, trying to find capital, trying to get a building, trying to get stuff done. There's been some discussion about that this is a really bad move, that they shouldn't go dark, that this is an environment that relies entirely on trust and stuff. And I get that. There's a part of me that feels the same way. But I'm reminded, last night I was listening to a Clubhouse conversation on exactly this. And someone said something really interesting. It was an old and bold collector, one of the old guys who's been around for like a million years and has got this long-standing collecting habit, where you slowly accumulate the perfect collection piece by piece. And he was remarking that he has seen that the watch collecting scene has radically changed. There's a whole new kind of younger, more aggressive, floiping and trading kind of collector out there now. Maybe that kind of collector expects this kind of behavior from people like the Timepiece gentleman. Maybe they've that kind of collector who generally is going to be younger and of the social media milieu. Maybe they're kind of thinking, this is what I would expect someone to do. This is the responsible way to go. If you're not ready to show your best face, don't show any face. It'll be interesting to see. I can imagine that that's the kind of collector that likes the kind of lifestyle, ostentatious, lavish expenditures that we see from the Timepiece gentleman. So maybe a lot of people are predicting this was a sham, but B, a massive mistake. I'm not even convinced that's true. But anyway, that's my opinion. I'm done. I'm going to put this video up as quickly as I can. Hopefully I'll get it out before we actually find out what the real story is. I've been Pete McConville. This has been Not So Obvious Watches, and I'll see you later. Bye.